Hello there, and welcome to the introduction of my new math game called Battle Graphs. This game is all about guessing ordered pairs to find the line on someone else's graph. This game is kind of a math knockoff of the original game Battleship that everyone's played before. And Battle Graphs comes with these two game sets right here. You get graphs, two boards, a deck of cards showing what lines you need to graph, and a red pin for marking misses, and a black pin for marking hits. The objective of this game is quite simple. You guess the ordered pairs, and you correctly identify the line of your opponent, and you win. The first thing you need to do is set up the game by putting new, fresh graphs in these game slots, and then picking a card from the deck that shows what graph you're going to have to write. This card says y equals 2x plus 1. And this is a line you're going to have to graph on your graph. It is important to remember that when you pick your line, you do not let your opponent see what line you're going to put on your graph, because the whole point of it is to guess your line, and then you will lose. Now the next thing that you'll want to do is to graph this line on your graph. That way the game can begin. Now let's do that. We grab our little game card right here, and we'll see we have to graph y equals 2x plus 1. And that's what your line will look like. You can connect the points if you want to, but you don't really need to. Now that you have completed this step, your opponent's going to have to do the same thing with their graph and their line. So let's see what this person has to graph. We graph from the deck of cards, and we get y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Now this person's going to have to graph this line on this graph. Let's graph it now. This line for your opponent that they're going to have to try and defend. Once you have done this step, you can get rid of these cards right here and put those aside because you don't need those anymore. You and your opponent will face their game boards like this. That way you cannot see the other person's graph. The way this works is that you and your opponent will alternate turns in between guessing ordered pairs to try and find different points on the line and try and correctly identify your opponent's line. Since I only have one person here, I'll do my best to show you some gameplay of this. Say your opponent guesses 0, 2. You will look down at your graph and see that there is indeed a point on your line at 0, 2. You will then say hit, and then you will circle it. And that will say, and then this person will know that they have hit. And then they will guess again because they hit. Then they say they guess 0, 1. You get out your red pin right here, and you put an X right there. That shows that they got a miss. And when they miss, it is now your turn to guess on their graph. So we can switch these around. And say you guess 1, 2. You go over 1, then up 2, and there's nothing there. This player will say miss, and it will be their turn to guess. And you can flip these around. And now their opponent will guess 0, 3. You go 0, 3. It's a miss. Now you switch these around again. Now it's your turn to guess. Now you guess 0, 1. And that's a hit right there. You get to guess again. This time you guess 2, 3. Go over 2, up 3. It's a miss, so you use your red pin. Right, X right there. And then it's the other person's turn. You do this back and forth until one of you finds all of these points on the graph, or they can correctly identify your line.